Let's take a look at how to work with the Shadow Properties tool while working in our projects in Viewer Builder 7. We can apply shadow effects to various slide elements in our project. However, not all slide objects have this option available to them. In order to see if it's available for your particular selection, go ahead and select the object you want to apply the shadow to. For example, we'll select this slide text right here. Then look along its context-sensitive toolbar. And if you see this button here, the S button available, that means you can apply a shadow effect to the selection. So let's go ahead and click this. The Shadow Properties window opens up with our various options for the shadow effect. By default, the No Shadow option is selected, meaning that the shadow effect is disabled. So let's uncheck this box, which enables the properties for the shadow effect for us. Now let's go ahead and maybe for this one we'll change the left offset up a bit. We'll go ahead and increase the value for the top offset. We'll go ahead and increase the blur radius for the shadow and maybe decrease the value for the opacity level. We can also go ahead and change the shadow color itself. So maybe we want to go ahead and change it to more of a blue here and click OK. Now here's a tip. Before you click OK to close the Shadow Properties window to see the effect, you can actually go ahead and click Apply. This way you can see what the effect looks like, and if you need to do some changes, do it right away. In this case, the shadow's rather muddy, so if we want to make it a little bit more distinct, for example, take down the blur radius a bit, and then we can up the value for the opacity level. We can then go ahead and apply it again, and you notice we have a much crisper shadow, and that's more of what we were looking for. So once you get the shadow effect that you're looking for, go ahead and click OK. And then we're going to go ahead and click off the slide text. Now the shadow effect can also be applied to imported images as well as shapes within your project. We have a shape here. Let's go ahead and select it. And again, we see that we do have the Shadow Properties button available. We'll click it to open it. Deselect No Shadow. We can go ahead and maybe change the left offset, maybe take the value of the top offset up. Let's go ahead and keep the blur radius and the opacity the same. We'll just change the color for the shadow. So we'll make it more of this color here. And then we'll apply it to see the effect, and that looks just fine for this example. So we'll go ahead and click Apply or click OK. And we'll deselect the option or deselect the object in this case. Now let's look at two more examples of where we might apply a shadow effect, maybe in the actual demonstration portion of our video. So let's go ahead and jump over to slide 3. And here you see we have some cursor movement going on, and this is the actual part of the demonstration. So here I might want to go ahead and draw an arrow pointing to a particular section of the slide. And if you look real close, this particular object does look like it has some kind of a shadow applied. However, if you're not real sure if it is applied or not, go ahead along the context-sensitive toolbar and open up the Shadow Properties window to verify if it is or not. And in this case, we can see that a shadow is already applied. So maybe we want to go ahead and change some of the settings to make it pop a little bit more. We can apply it, and there we see that the shadow is a lot more visible here, and that's the only change we need to make here, and we'll click OK. And then finally, let's look at one other option here as well. For example, if we put a balloon in and we put some instructions in here, let's say double click to select the entire stereo frequency wave, and then we'll click off of this. Now you notice in this particular case we now have just the balloon itself selected. We are not in text edit mode, okay? And if we do have the Shadow Properties tool available, which we do along the context-sensitive toolbar, in this case it's going to be applied directly to the balloon object itself, not to any text like it did with the slide text. So we're going to go ahead and click the Shadow Properties button, And we can go ahead this time, we'll deselect no shadow. Let's play around with some of these features again. Let's go ahead and make this a big value here. The top offset, we'll do like this, bring it up to about 14. And we'll go ahead and keep these two values the same, and let's change the color in this case to a green, and then we'll click OK here. Now let's apply this. Now you notice that the top offset drops the shadow below the balloon, and the left offset is making the shadow come over here to the right. However, another tip, you can also input negative values. If you don't want your shadow to go to the right and down, you can input negative values and apply, and have the shadow shift up and to the left as well. So you're not limited to just it going off to the right or down. And again, you can change these other settings as well. So it's up to you. Again, if you want to see if your particular slide object has a shadow property available to it, just go ahead and select it and look for the shadow properties tool along the context sensitive toolbar, and then you can take it from there. That's all there is to it. If you have any questions on this particular topic, working with shadows, or with any other products while you're working in your Vuelich projects, please visit us online at qarbon.com. That's Qarbon.com. Happy Vueliting!